Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In the previous session, we have discussed about electrochemical series, or even it is called activity series, and we studied there how those all half cells are arranged. That is, that series basically deals with the arrangement of all the electrodes in the increasing order of their electrode potential values, so that we are going to end up with a series, and even we consider the characteristics also. And even at the last part, we considered applications of a electrochemical series. Well, whenever we started dealing with the galvanic cells, or I can say voltaic cells, what is the purpose of these galvanic cell, or what happens in galvanic cell? Here, the spontaneous chemical reaction is get converted into electrical energy. It means basically the galvanic cell deals with the conversion of chemical energy into electrical energy. And we also know about the components of a galvanic cell. What we said, there will be necessarily two half cells. One is oxidation half cell, another one is reduction half cell, and both the half cells externally connected by potentiometer, and the solutions of the half cells are connected by means of salt bridge. Okay, so that circuit will be get completed, and whatever the reaction which takes place at anode and cathode, at oxidation half cell and reduction half cell, during which what happens, electrons are being transferred from anode to cathode, and a conventional current will be transferred from cathode to anode. So that what happens here, during the reactions involved in oxidation and reduction half cell, they are the basis for generation of a electricity. So we say that chemical energy is being converted into electrical energy in a galvanic cells. So we can say here galvanic cell can be used as a source of electricity, because we know that chemical energies get converted into electrical energy. So we can say that the galvanic cells can be used as a source of electricity. Well, what type of source these are? Since the galvanic cells are portable in the sense we can carry them, we can carry from one place to another place. They are compact form, therefore they can be carried readily, easily from place to place. Therefore we say these galvanic cells act as a portable source of electricity. Well, is it necessary to have only one galvanic cell? As you come across a Daniell cell, there will be one zinc electrode and copper electrodes, and is going to produce a potential of 1.1 volt. So as like, if I connect number of galvanic cells, not only one, but if I connect number of galvanic cells in a series, so we are going to get a desired potential. Therefore these basically galvanic cells can be called or referred or can say used as a source of electricity. So in this session we are going to discuss about batteries. Well, what are these batteries? So batteries are nothing but these are set of two or more galvanic cells. They are arranged in a series. Simply what it is, batteries are nothing but they are set of two or more galvanic cells. We know about galvanic cell, two half cells, salt bridge, and externally they connected to potentiometer. Okay. So in as like, if we connect n number of, not necessarily one two, generally we say two or more galvanic cells, if we connect in a series, if they are connected in a series in the sense alternatively anode cathode, they are connected in a series, resultant will be batteries. So basically how we are defining, a set of two or more galvanic cells arranged in a series is called batteries. Okay, when we arrange two or more galvanic cells in a series, the resultant will be batteries. Well, here when it comes to the types of batteries, yes, we have two types of batteries. There are two types of batteries. They are named as a primary batteries and secondary batteries, or even we call primary cell and secondary cell. Well, what is a primary cell here? So primary cell is nothing but these are the galvanic cells These are the type of batteries, or I can say these are the galvanic cells which become dead, over a period of time, and they cannot be recharged. Okay, it means primary cells are nothing but they are a type of batteries, or I can say they are a type of galvanic cells which become dead over a period of time. Means after usage of certain time, what happens? The batteries becomes dead, and further those batteries cannot be recharged. So in the sense, we can say these primary cells can be used only once in its lifetime. Okay, so what we can say, the primary cells can be used only once in its lifetime, and they cannot be recharged. They cannot be recharged and reusable. They used only once in its lifetime. They cannot be recharged and cannot be reused. So such type of batteries are called primary cell or primary batteries. So I repeat, what is the definition? These are the galvanic cells which becomes dead over a period of time and cannot be recharged. Or else in another words, what we can say? The batteries which cannot be recharged and reused. They are used only once in its lifetime. So they are called primary cells. Well, what are the example for these primary cells? Mean dry cell is named as a Lee-Clanche cell. This name Lee-Clanche is the name of a discoverer, so it is also called Lee-Clanche cell and mercury cell. These are the well-known examples for primary batteries. So where these primary batteries are used actually means in tape recorders, in radios, in wall clock, and even in watches, calculator. There we use these batteries. Okay, whatever we say every day, and in watches, that small batteries we use, they are nothing but mercury cells or mercury batteries. Okay, so what we say here, the primary batteries are nothing but these are the galvanic cells which becomes dead over a period of time and cannot be recharged. Example for primary batteries, dry cell and mercury cell. Okay, and here what is the important thing is noted, means in primary batteries the cell reaction cannot be reversed. Say in primary batteries, cell reaction cannot be reversed by passing electric current in a opposite direction. Okay, therefore what we say, if cell reaction cannot be reversed, so over a period of time, what happens in these primary batteries? Reaction is going to attain equilibrium. Okay, so once reaction attains equilibrium, those reaction cannot be reversed. Therefore, they used only once in its lifetime and they cannot be recharged. If it is possible, if it is possible to reverse the reaction, then can be recharged and reused. So primary batteries here, over a period of time, what happens? Reaction attains equilibrium and that cell reaction cannot be reversed by applying external opposite potential. Okay, so it's regarding primary batteries. Well, coming to the first example, what it is? Dry cell, or I can say it is also called Lee-Clanche cell. So why it is named as a Lee-Clanche? It's the name of a discoverer. So it's named as a Lee-Clanche cell. Well, basically what it contains, this dry cell contains, again what we said, is a galvanic cell. It means there will be anode, there will be cathode, and there will be electrolytic solution, and even we can say salt bridge. So, well here in case of dry cell, so this cell consists of a zinc container. So what it is? In case of dry cell, it contains a zinc container which acts as a anode. So just analyze, it has a zinc container. Dry cell has a zinc container, it acts as a anode, and a carbon rod, or I can say graphite, a black colored graphite rod is surrounded by powdered manganese dioxide and carbon which act as a cathode. It means the dry cell has anode as well as cathode. What is anode here? A zinc container act as anode. What is cathode? A graphite rod surrounded by powdered manganese dioxide and a carbon act as a cathode. The space between the electrodes, in between anode and cathode, the space, whatever the empty space present, that space between the electrode is filled by a moist paste of ammonium chloride and zinc chloride. So whatever the gap in between anode and cathode, it is filled by a paste of ammonium chloride and zinc chloride. So we can say here, say is externally, whatever the external container, what it is a zinc cup, or I can say zinc container, which act as a cathode. And at the center of this container, what is placed? A carbon rod, or I can say graphite, a black colored graphite rod with a cap. This it is surrounded by this graphite rod is get surrounded by paste of manganese dioxide and carbon black, which act as a cathode. And in between zinc container and graphite rod, what is placed? A paste of ammonium chloride and zinc chloride. Okay, so it act as a that electrolytic solution or a paste. So it is about construction, what are all present in a dry cell. Well, coming to the cell, overall what we said, say what is anode here? Zinc container act as anode. What is cathode? A graphite rod, or I can say carbon rod surrounded by MnO2, manganese dioxide and carbon powder, which act as a cathode. Okay, and what is the electrolyte here? A paste of ammonium chloride and zinc chloride, which act as a electrolyte. Well, basically we know about cell reactions. What happens at anode? We know that always oxidation takes place at anode and reduction takes place at cathode. So accordingly, say here what is anode? Zinc is a anode. Means, so at anode what happens? Zinc atoms of a container undergo oxidation by 2 electrons. So when I consider cell reaction, what I can say, at anode Zn gives rise to Zn2 plus 2 electrons. So is the reaction which takes place at anode. Further, what about cathode? At cathode, a graphite rod surrounded by MnO2 and carbon powder. So what is the reactive part here? The MnO2, manganese oxide, is going to react, not the graphite rod. It just acts as a conductor there. Okay. Well, MnO2 combines with ammonium ions present in a paste. As we said, electrolyte, ammonium chloride, NH4 plus ions present, and electrons from anode, they combine. MnO2 plus NH4 plus electron gives rise to manganese perhydroxide. So MnOOH, manganese perhydroxide, and ammonia will be liberated. So at anode, Zn2 plus ions present. Okay, electrons are used here, but Zn2 plus ions remain, zinc ions remains. At cathode what happens? Manganese perhydroxide is formed. Further, ammonia will be liberated, is a reactive one. So that Zn2 plus ions combines with ammonia formed and gives a diamine zinc complex. Okay, so whatever zinc ions formed at anode and ammonia liberated at cathode, they combine to form a complex. What it is? Diamine zinc 2 complex. It's a stable complex, which means whatever the product formed, they won't remain in their own state. They get converted into a complex. Diamine zinc 2 cation, a complex is formed. Therefore, this reaction cannot be reversed back. If reaction cannot be reversed back, what happens? Reaction is going to attain equilibrium at certain case, at certain moment. Therefore, we say this type of cell can be used only once in its lifetime. Okay. Well, how much potential is going to be produced here? It is around 1.5 volt. Okay. So dry cell is going to produce a potential of 1.5 volt. Well, it's regarding dry cell. So dry cell, anode, cathode, electrolyte, and cell reaction at anode and cathode, and cell potential. So it is an important thing to be remembered regarding dry cell. Well, well, coming to the second example. So what is the second example? We said about mercury cell. Okay. Well, what is mercury cell here? Well, it is also a type of galvanic cell. Particularly, what type of cell it is? It is a primary cell, or you can say primary batteries. It means it is also used once in its lifetime. Cell reaction cannot be reversed here. So cell reactions are going to attain equilibrium over a period of time. Okay. So mercury cell, so it also consists of anode and cathode, that is two electrodes will be present and there will be electrolytic solution. So mercury cell consists of zinc mercury amalgam. Well, here what is amalgam? A homogeneous mixture of metal with mercury is referred as a amalgam. So here in mercury cell, which one act as a anode? A zinc amalgam. So simply it is called zinc amalgam, is nothing but is a homogeneous mixture of zinc metal with the mercury. So we call it consists of zinc mercury amalgam which act as a anode, and a paste of mercuric oxide and carbon which act as a cathode. So basically here in mercury cell, anode is zinc amalgam and cathode is a mercuric oxide with the carbon which act as a cathode. And what is the electrolyte? That electrolyte is either a paste of potassium hydroxide or and zinc oxide. So here a paste of potassium hydroxide and zinc oxide which act as a electrolyte. Well, where we use this mercury cell means in the form of button cells. It is used in watches, hearing aids, etc. Whatever I said, in calculators, in watches, in hearing aids, these small batteries, that is mercury cells, are used. Well, how it looks diagrammatically? Coming to the diagrammatic representation, say what is there? Both anode, cathode, they are placed in a circular disc. It is called cell can, or it is also called anode cap. Okay. Well, here what is anode? Mercury, that is zinc mercury amalgam, that is red colored one in the diagram, it acts as a anode. So zinc mercury amalgam is placed, and a blue colored one, what it is? Cathode. What it is? A paste of mercuric oxide with carbon which act as a cathode. So both anode and cathode, they are get separated by a thin layer called separator which is filled with a paste of potassium hydroxide and zinc oxide. It acts as a electrolyte. Okay. Well, so coming to the cell, what I can say? What is the anode here? Zinc amalgam, ZnHg. So in anode, which is the reactive part, only zinc is involved in a reaction, but not the mercury. Okay. So anode, zinc amalgam act as a anode. What is cathode? A paste of mercuric oxide with carbon act as a cathode. And what is the electrolyte here? A moist paste of potassium hydroxide and zinc oxide act as a electrolyte. Well, coming to the cell reaction, so at anode, as usual, oxidation takes place. So the zinc atoms of a amalgam, they undergo oxidation, means they combine with the hydroxide ions to give zinc oxide, water, and two electrons are liberated. So zinc undergoing oxidation here get converted into +2 by releasing two electrons. But here what is the reaction? Zinc combines with hydroxide ions of electrolyte gives zinc oxide and water plus two electrons are liberated. So at cathode what happens? Mercuric oxide combines with the water and those two electrons gives rise to mercury and two hydroxide ions will be produced. So what is the net reaction involved? So here water and two electrons, they are consumed at cathode. Whatever water and two electrons are liberated at anode, they are consumed at a cathode reactions. So what is remaining? Zinc amalgam plus mercuric oxide gives rise to zinc oxide and mercury. So when you look at this net cell reaction, it doesn't involve any ionic species. It doesn't involve any ionic species here. So we say in the overall reaction, or I can say net cell reaction, that does not contain any ions in the solution whose concentration can change. If there are ionic species, what happens? Its concentration is going to be changes during a chemical reaction, but here there is no such case. There is no any ionic species, therefore concentration remains same, unchanged. Therefore, its cell potential remains constant. And what is the cell potential is produced here? It is around 1.35 volt. It is a cell potential produced by mercury cell. So whenever they ask to write regarding Daniell cell or mercury cell, so we have to first write anode, that is cell. It means we have to write which one act as anode, cathode and electrolyte. Further, we have to write the cell reaction at anode, at cathode, net cell reaction, and you have to specify cell potential. Well, it is regarding both the primary cells, that is dry cell and mercury cell. Coming to the second type of batteries, what is that is secondary batteries, or I can say secondary cells. Well, what are secondary batteries? Well, before going for this, for primary batteries we said the batteries which becomes dead over a period of time and they cannot be recharged. But here secondary batteries, what happens? These are also the galvanic cells. Secondary batteries are also galvanic cells only, which can be recharged. Which can be recharged how? By passing electric current in a opposite direction. Means by applying external opposite potential, these batteries can be recharged. If can be recharged, what happens? Can be reused. Therefore, what we say, these are the cells which can be recharged by passing electric current in opposite direction and can be used for a longer period, for a long time. So we say secondary batteries, the batteries which can be recharged and reused again and again. So such type of batteries are called secondary batteries. Well, example for secondary batteries, lead storage battery and nickel cadmium cell. These are the well-known example for secondary batteries. Okay, so coming to the first one, lead storage battery. As I said, it is also kind of galvanic cell or voltaic cell. It means, so there will be again anode, cathode, electrolyte. Okay. So lead storage battery, it consists of lead, a spongy lead, it acts as a anode, and a grid of lead packed with lead dioxide, which act as a cathode. So what is anode here? A spongy lead act as anode, and there is a lead grids which is filled with the lead dioxide, it act as a cathode. And what is the next one? We have to talk about electrolyte. So a 38% solution of sulfuric acid. What is the percentage here? 38% weight by volume. So 38% solution of sulfuric acid which is used as a electrolyte. So whatever the inverter batteries we use, they are nothing but lead storage batteries, or else, or I can say whatever the batteries present in all automobiles, they are nothing but lead storage batteries. Well, so diagrammatically how we can see is, say that rectangular shaped battery, what it contains actually, there will be a lead grid, series of lead grids. That spongy lead which is placed, it acts as a anode. That blue colored one, whatever the blue colored one we are showing, is a spongy lead, it acts as a anode. And it's a red colored one, what it is? It is a lead grid filled with the lead dioxide, it acts as a cathode. And The entire container is filled with the 38% sulfuric acid solution. It acts as a electrolyte. So it is regarding diagrammatic representation of a lead storage battery. Well, coming to the cell. So overall, what is to be remembered here? Anode, cathode, electrolyte, cell reaction. At anode, at cathode, net cell reaction, and cell potential. Well, coming to the cell, what we said, what is anode here? A spongy lead, or simply say lead act as anode. And what is cathode? A lead grid packed with the lead dioxide act as a cathode. And what is the electrolyte? A 38% weight by volume sulfuric acid act as a which act as a electrolyte. Well, coming to the cell reaction. So at anode, that lead atoms undergo oxidation. Means the lead combines with the sulfate ions of a electrolyte, gives rise to lead sulfate, and two electrons will be liberated. So overall, what I can say, at anode, lead atoms undergoing oxidation to give electrons. So lead converted into lead sulfate and gives rise to two electrons. Well, at cathode, what happens? Lead dioxide, Pb O2. Lead dioxide combines with sulfate ions as well as H plus ions of a solution, that is electrolyte, and they even combine with the electrons. Okay, whatever electrons liberated at anode, they are consumed at a cathode. So what is the reaction here? PbO2 plus SO4 2 minus plus 4H plus 2 electrons gives rise to lead sulfate and 2H2O. So here overall what I can say, during discharging, means when battery is under use, at anode lead converted into lead sulfate, at cathode PbO2 lead dioxide converted into lead sulfate. Okay, so lead oxidizes to lead sulfate and lead dioxide reduces to lead sulfate. PbO2 here lead present in plus 4 oxidation state, in PbSO4 lead present in plus 2 oxidation state. So we say during discharging, what happens at anode, lead oxidizes to lead sulfate, while at cathode lead product is same, but anode lead oxidizes, but at cathode lead dioxide undergo reduction. So, well, what is the net cell reaction? So Pb plus PbO2 plus 2H2SO4 gives rise to 2PbSO4 plus 2H2O. So during discharging, what happens? Sulfuric acid being converted into water. Okay, means lead converted into lead sulfate, PbO2 converted into PbSO4, and sulfuric acid being converted into water. Means its concentration goes on decreases. So it is about during discharging. As we said, by applying external opposite potential, what we can do? We can reverse the cell reaction. Means during recharging what happens? Cell reaction is get reversed. It means you have to consider reverse of these reactions. So at anode what happens? Lead sulfate converted into lead plus sulfate ions. At cathode, the lead sulfate combines with water and get converted into PbO2 plus sulfate ions plus 4H plus 2 electrons. So reverse of this. What is the net reaction? 2PbSO4 plus 2H2O gives rise to Pb at anode, PbO2 at cathode, and electrolyte is regenerated to H2SO4. Means by applying external opposite potential, it is possible to reverse the reaction. If we reverse the reaction, so this recharging and discharging can be made in the form of cycles. So that battery works for a longer time by recharging and by discharging. Well, the cell can be recharged by passing electric current from an external source in a opposite direction. So what I said here, by applying external opposite potential, it is possible to recharge the batteries. So on charging, lead sulfate at anode and cathode. Both the case there is a lead sulfate. So lead sulfate on anode and cathode is get converted back to lead and lead dioxide respectively. So lead storage battery, it can be recharged and reused. In the sense, by applying external opposite potential, it is possible to reverse the cell reaction. So it is regarding lead storage battery. Coming to the second one, what it is, nickel cadmium cell. So as the name itself says, nickel cadmium cell. So here, what is the anode? A cadmium is used as a anode. Okay, so in the cell, cadmium is used as a anode and a metal grid containing nickel dioxide. Okay, metal grid containing nickel dioxide which act as a cathode, and concentrated solution of potassium hydroxide which act as a electrolyte. Coming to the cell reaction, so at anode what happens? Cadmium combines with hydroxide ions, gives rise to cadmium hydroxide plus 2 electrons, while at cathode nickel dioxide combines with the water and 2 electrons gives rise to nickel dihydroxide and 2 hydroxide ions will be liberated. So overall the net cell reaction will be, so cadmium plus 2 NiOH second rise gives rise to cadmium oxide plus nickel dihydroxide gives plus water. So what is the cell potential here? The cell potential will be about 1.4 volt. So here also the cell reaction can be reversed during charging of the cell by passing electric current in a opposite direction. So what we are saying, this nickel cadmium cell, here also it can be recharged and reused. So it is regarding batteries, primary batteries and secondary batteries. Type of cells, so they are called fuel cells. So basically we know about meaning of a fuel. Fuel is nothing but these are the substances, or you can say they are used as a source of energy, conventional source of energy. So all petroleum and petroleum products can be used as a source of energy. So here fuel, what happens during combustion of a fuel, we get a energy. In case of fuel cells, what happens? The fuel cell is a device in which, or I can say which converts energy of combustion of fuels. Means whenever we subject a fuel for combustion, what happens? Energy will be liberated. Whatever energy liberated is directly converted into electrical energy. So what are these fuel cells? These are the devices in which what happens? The energy liberated during combustion of the fuel is directly converted into electrical energy. So it is called fuel cells. So what is the definition here? The fuel cell is a device which converts the energy of combustion of fuels like hydrogen, methane, okay, directly into electrical energy are called fuel cells. Well-known example for fuel cells is hydrogen oxygen fuel cell. Okay, so it's an example for fuel cell here. So what are fuel cells means? These are the devices which converts the energy liberated during combustion of fuels into electrical energy. Well, as we specified hydrogen oxygen fuel cell, so as per the syllabus we have to study the construction of that fuel cell. So that hydrogen oxygen fuel cell, so it has two porous graphite plates. It has a two porous graphite plates which are impregnated with platinum or palladium in a powdered state. So if I consider H2O2 fuel cell, there will be two porous graphite rods. They are impregnated with the platinum or palladium. Why we are using these metal means to enhance the conductivity. Okay. So this catalyzes the electrode reactions. They enhances the catalytic reactions which takes place at anode and cathode. And a concentrated solution of sodium hydroxide is placed between the carbon plates. So there will be two graphite plates, or I can say carbon plates. In between, whatever the space present, it is filled with concentrated solution of either sodium hydroxide or potassium hydroxide. So concentrated solution of sodium hydroxide placed between the carbon plates, it acts as a electrolyte. So here we come across two electrodes, two porous graphite rods. They act as electrodes. One act as anode, another act as a cathode. And whatever that concentrated solution of sodium hydroxide placed, it act as a electrolyte. What are the fuel here? Hydrogen is the fuel and oxygen is used for combustion. So hydrogen and oxygen gases are bubbled into the electrolyte through the electrodes. So when you look at diagrammatically, so you can easily recognize this. Say as per this explanation, say there will be two graphite rods, porous graphite rods, they are impregnated with platinum or palladium. In between these electrodes, whatever the space present, it is filled with the concentrated sodium hydroxide solution. Okay, so one graphite rod act as anode, another one act as a cathode. Now we are passing hydrogen and oxygen gas. Through this solution, we are passing hydrogen gas and oxygen gas into that concentrated sodium hydroxide solution through these graphite rods. Whatever that porous graphite rods, the gases are allowed to pass into the solution via these graphite rods. Well, here, when we pass the gases, what happens? Say, if I consider cell, what is anode here? The carbon rod in which we are going to pass fuel. That is, the carbon rod is in contact with the hydrogen gas, act as a anode. For the what is cathode? The graphite rod is in contact with oxygen, it acts as a cathode. And what is the electrolyte here? Concentrated solution of sodium hydroxide or potassium hydroxide is used as a electrolyte. So anode, cathode and electrolyte. It is regarding cell. Coming to the cell reaction. What happens at cathode? As we pass oxygen gas combines with water molecules and electrons, gives rise to 4 hydroxide ions. So O2 plus 2H2O plus 4 electrons gives rise to 4OH minus. And at anode what happens? Hydrogen gas combines with the hydroxide ions, OH minus ions, gives rise to water and 4 electrons. So when you consider the net reaction, say 2H2 plus O2 gives rise to 2H2O. So what is the product formed here? Water is the product. What is the cell potential? The cell potential of fuel cell is about 0.9 volt and operational temperature is about 70 to 140 degree Celsius. It's regarding hydrogen oxygen fuel cell. Say here we have two kinds. Batteries we have, they can be used as a source of electricity, and even we have fuel cells. They can also be used as a source of electricity. Now the question is, which one is better? Which one is better among these, batteries or fuel cells? When I come to the advantages of fuel cells, well, say coming to the advantages, what is the advantage when we compare efficiency, work efficiency of fuel cells with batteries? Obviously, the fuel cells are going to have high efficiency, means their tendency of producing electricity. The efficiency of fuel cells is about 70%. But if I compare the efficiency of batteries, whatever the batteries we use, their efficiency is about just 40%. And if I compare with gasoline engines, its the efficiency is about just 25%. It means when I compare batteries and fuel cells are going to have high efficiency, work efficiency. So what is the efficiency of fuel cells? It's about 70%, but batteries have only 40% of efficiency. So it's the one advantage of the fuel cell. What we say? High efficiency. The efficiency of fuel cells is about 70%, compared to thermal plants whose efficiency is about just 70% and that of gasoline engines is about 25%. Say, fuel cells have pollution free working compared to other ways of producing electricity. Say, fuel cells have pollution free working. When you go for thermal plants for producing electrical energy, what happens? There will be liberation of large amount of heat. So it is going to impact on an environment, or you can say it is environmental hazardous product formed during production of energy, or you can say electrical energy using thermal plants. Even we have nuclear plants to produce electricity. What happens? There will be nuclear waste is going to harm environment or is going to pollute the environment. So means thermal plants as well as nuclear plants are going to produce some objectionable products, byproducts during production of a electrical energy. But coming to fuel cells, say the fuel cells do not produce any objectionable byproducts. When I look at the hydrogen oxygen fuel cells, what is the product we got? Water as a byproduct. Along with production of electricity, water is produced. Water is not going to harm the environment, right? So we say the fuel cells do not produce any objectionable byproducts so that they do not cause any pollution. But regarding other ways, yes, they have some objectionable byproducts. So we say second advantage is it is a pollution free working. Okay. The third one, what we can say, it is a continuous source of energy. When I look at the other ways, thermal plants as well as nuclear plants, what happens there? Their working depends on the availability of coal as well as radioactive elements. As we know, they are non-renewable sources. Coal is also non-renewable one, and radioactive elements are also non-renewable. Means once they are used, their quantity goes on decreases in the nature. They cannot be renew them. But fuel cells can be used as a continuous source of energy. Thermal plants and radioactive plants cannot be considered as a continuous source of energy because once they are over, once the availability of coal and radioactive species are completed, there is no more use of those thermal plants and radioactive plants. They are not going to produce electrical energy. But here, fuel cells can be used as a continuous source of energy. How? By supplying gases continuously. Since oxygen gas and hydrogen gas are available in the nature, if these gases are supplied continuously, what happens? Fuel cells can produce electricity continuously and never become dead. They work continuously. If you supply gases continuously, they work continuously so that electricity is being produced continuously. Therefore, we say they can be used as a continuous source of energy. So these are the three major advantages of a fuel cells: high efficiency, pollution free working, continuous source of energy. So it is regarding fuel cells and advantage of a fuel cells. Well, I hope you understood these concepts. Again, in the next session, we discuss about some other concept of a electrochemistry. Okay. Well, thank you.